There you go.
I'm going to call the meeting to order, that being the regular council meeting of the Township of Warwick, January 8th, 2024, and we're starting at 3:30 as always. First thing I'd like to do, council, is observe a moment of silence for former councillor Percy Heath, who passed away. I believe it was December 29th. So we could have a moment of silence for Mr. Heath. That would be appreciated. If I could ask everybody to stand. Thank you. I'll remind council of the disclosure of pecuniary interest rules and conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict or a pecuniary interest they want to report at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everybody who's tuning in through our Warwick Township YouTube page. Welcome. And now I'm going to do the acknowledgement of ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered here today, Township of Warwick, is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs, and offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. Number 5 on our agenda is minutes from the previous council meeting. Did anybody have any questions on those minutes of December 11th? Anybody? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve. Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Manning. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And there was no business arising from those minutes. Let's go on to number 7, scheduled events, meetings and events. There's a list of them there before you, council. Any questions on 7A? Seeing none, there's also 7B. There's some other meetings and conferences and so on coming up in the near future. Any questions on any of those? Seeing none, thank you. Then we'll use that be information for everybody. Let's go to number 8 if we can. Councillors' commitments and items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to the councillors' commitment dates at this time? Yes, Councillor Morris.
I will be not available the 28th of March, probably for a week. I'm getting my other knee done, so probably be about a week before I get online.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Westgate.
I'll be away from roughly February 25th to March 13th.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Nobody else? Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go to councillor items. I'm going to start with Councillor Westgate today. Anything for councillor items with Councillor Westgate?
I had nothing today, thank you.
Yes, sir. Councillor Morris.
2 quick things. One for Andrew. The Churchill Road repair status update. I think it was in the 2023 budget. We put some money in there. What's going on?
Thanks, Councillor Morse. Currently, we're waiting for an estimate from the geotech firm that we met out with on Globe. So we're waiting for an estimate for them to come up with some pricing so we can figure out what's going on with the road base. And then we're going to come up with a plan for a fix as part of the 2024 budget.
And I think this will be Ryan. Can we get a garbage pail, please, on this block? There's nothing on either side of the road.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Morris. I believe that's something that we can certainly accommodate, and we'll look into that and can report back on how we will proceed.
Okay, so nobody has their microphone, so nobody else can hear what's being discussed, but apparently there is one across the road from the municipal building. So, but anyways, it wouldn't be a bad idea, maybe to the point you made, Councillor Morris, maybe to look in town just to make sure there is ample and maybe report back, but it's good to know there is one. And I know there's some others, I do believe, along Main Street too, but let's just maybe take a look and see where maybe we have some shortages and we can discuss it back at our next meeting. Is everybody good with that? Good, Councillor Morris? Very good. Councillor Manning, did you have anything for today?
I have nothing today, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Manning. Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
I have nothing today. Thank you.
Very good. I just have a couple of things. First, I'd like to congratulate on behalf of council, the East Lambton U15, the winners of the International Silver Stick yesterday in Forest. I was at the game and it was a good game. They played very well. So we just want to make sure we congratulate them on a well-played tournament and let them know that the community is very proud of their accomplishment. The next thing is I'd like to send out a thank you to MPP Bob Bailey from the Sarnia Lambton riding. As everybody knows, we have been working without an MPP for quite some time now, and it is a very frustrating experience when you're trying to get some things done with the province when you don't have somebody. So ever since we've lost Monty McNaughton, there's been no representation. So a big thank you to Mr. Bailey, who has acted as our MPP for us over the last few months and continues to try to help us get meetings that we need to obviously put together, especially around things such as the landfill. And the Ministry of Transportation. So again, I just want to do a public thank you to MPP Bailey, because again, he doesn't have to do this. We are not in his writing. So again, I'd just like to make sure publicly that we thank him for all of his efforts. We do have the Roma conference upcoming, for which we've asked for some meetings. And I know that's going to be updated by the clerk later on in the meeting. But just an example, we were turned down for one meeting, and we'll get into that a little later on, for which I texted PP Bailey on Friday back and forth, and we are now going to have that meeting that we were turned down. So that's the difference of having a MPP and not having an MPP working for you. So hopefully the provincial government will call this by-election sooner than later, and we'll have some representation at Queen's Park again. So that's all I had for items. So we'll move right on to number 9, and that's staff items. And we have a verbal update from Andrew from Public Works. Andrew, if you would be so kind.
Thank you, Mayor Case. Public Works is requesting that council declares both vehicles, one being truck 384, a 2011 Chevy Silverado, and truck 386, which is the 2006 Volvo VHD plow truck. Both vehicles were replaced in the 2023 budget, while one in 2021. We've received both the replacement vehicles. We're just now looking for a formality to sell these. Thank you.
Okay, council. So there is a recommendation attached to that with making both those vehicles surplus. Councillor Westgate, are you moving that?
Yes, I'll
Move.
move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Westgate. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Kellenberg. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Let's go to 9B if we could, and this is a verbal update from Amanda Gubbles on delegation requests, as I just referenced, for the Roma conference coming up. Amanda, please.
Thank you, Mayor Case. So the Township of Warwick requested a number of delegations at the upcoming Roma conference, and we have been approved for a few meetings, and some are still pending. We have been approved for a meeting with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks at the Roma conference on the proposed related to environmental issues. We also have a meeting scheduled with OMAFRA related to municipal drains and CN rail. We call it the drain and train file. We also tentatively, further to Mayor Case's update, are awaiting confirmation of a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation on a number of issues, including traffic at the Highway 402 overpass and approaches to and maintenance to overpasses in the municipality. We did submit 2 others. We're waiting to hear back from the Ministry of Energy on natural gas expansion and 3-phase hydro expansion, as well as the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing related to planning guidelines for land use surrounding landfills. I have one other update that we, although not officially requested as a delegation, have reached out to Canada Post about the possibility of meeting with them to discuss delivery issues and or concerns that continue in Watford. And we will be setting up a meeting with them. We're just waiting for all the scheduling to come, but they've agreed to meet with us, and also submitted a request to Enbridge to meet. We have a new municipal stakeholder advisor from Enbridge, so to speak to them about natural gas expansion as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. Did anybody have any questions on any of that information Amanda has provided? So we are still waiting on a couple. We were turned down from the Ministry of Transportation meeting, but again, we are told now, the minister got back to me on Friday through text and said that he will accommodate a meeting. So we're just waiting to hear back when that meeting will be, whether it'll be part of the Roma conference, or it'll be separate. So again, the good news is, thanks to Mr. Bailey, we've managed to be able to make sure that that meeting still happens. So we're thankful for that again. Let's go to 11 if we can, then, council, on the agenda. We accounts. First off, any questions on 11A, the GL report? Does anybody have any questions on that particular report? Seeing none? Okay, let's go to 11B, the accounts payable. Did anybody have any questions on the accounts payable? Yes, Councilor Morris.
Couple, actually, transaction 066822. Somebody rejected a check on the farmers. It was a rejected check.
The individual changed banks during the year and didn't forward us information.
Okay. The other one was an employee's cell phone expense for $220.
Yeah, that's a 4-month expense. The employee should be having a phone, decide not to enter into a contract with us whereby we will cover the cost of the software. They cover the cost of the hardware.
Okay.
And it's a 4-month payment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, did anybody else have any other questions on the accounts payable? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve both the GL report and the accounts payable. Councillor Manning is making the motion, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Let's go to number 12, we could, the consent agenda. And I will remind council, if you go back to number 10, and that's our delegations, we do have one. It was originally scheduled to be at 4 o'clock. We've now changed it to 3:50. And just everybody's information, so we'll circle back to that once we get to 10 to 4. We'll circle back and accommodate that at that delegation. Okay, there is the non-action correspondence 12A. Did anybody have any questions on the non-action correspondence? Councillor Morris.
Yes, 0106. It was under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The definition of employer. Now, if I understand this right, a municipality was charged with not protecting the worker, even though he was a contractor. So we could have somebody out working on the roads and we become liable. I think we should support this because I think that's not right. We pay the contractor and we expect them to look after the workers' health and safety.
Okay, so you'd like to make a motion to support that one, Councillor Morris? Everybody understands where we are? Councillor Westgate, are you seconding that?
Second, that I have that one marked down too.
Very good. Further discussion of any? Seeing none? All in favor? That is carried. Anything else anybody'd like to pull out of the non-action correspondence? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to receive and file the remainder of the correspondence, so I could. Deputy Mayor Kallenberg, seconded by Councillor Manning. All in favor? That's carried. Very good. The minutes of the Waste Management End Use Committee meeting. Any questions on that particular meeting and those minutes? Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to receive and file the information. Thank you, Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That's carried. And then we have the occupational health and safety policy. There's a motion to receive and file. I believe, no, pardon me. There's a motion, I believe, to receive and file the information. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none? None? How does council wish to do with that? Motion, Councillor Morris, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kallenberg. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And let's go to 13 if we can then. Reports, items requiring a motion. We have one piece of action correspondence on 13A, and that is 0125. It's the municipality of Grey Highlands regarding Enbridge and Ontario Energy Boards and leave to construct policy. How does council wish to deal with that? If anything, does council wish to support it, or are we? Moved by Councillor Kallenberg to support, seconded by Councillor Manning. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Let's go to 13B if we could then. And this is the quarterly status report on corporate priorities. And there's a recommendation there as well. How does council wish to deal with that recommendation? Does anybody have any questions? No questions? Then I'd entertain a motion. Moved by Councillor Manning, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We can go to 13C. And this is a HR policy implementation update. And there's also a recommendation there as well. Does council have any questions? Yes, Councillor Morris.
I thought we discussed the working from home and I thought we had canceled that. It's my understanding. Other than that, it's a 1-year policy for review after 1 year, but the working from home, I thought we had canned it.
Oh, I'm going to ask, I asked the same question this morning to the clerk and the clerk will clarify that for
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yes, Amanda, please.
Thank you. So council did approve removing working from home as a general allowance and policy. So the policy on flex time used to read that working from home would be permitted under certain circumstances, and there was a request form in the policy as well for sign off. So those items have been removed. But what was noted in the previous report to council is that in terms of accommodating a person with a disability, an employee with a disability, or some sort of accessibility need, working from home may still be contemplated as per accessibility requirements and legislation. So that is the only reference in the flex time policy, and that is the only allowance for which it would be permitted.
So you're under the OADA. You're saying that if somebody has accessibility problems, they can work from home. Is that my understanding?
The Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act requires the municipality to have an accommodation process in place for any employee with a disability. We do have a policy in place, and this reference in the flex time policy basically says that any request for work from home would be treated in compliance with the required accommodation policy.
Okay, very good. Did anybody else have any questions on the HR policy? A lot of it we've gone over and had discussion about before. That was one that I also kind of flagged as well, Councillor Morris. But Amanda made it very clear how it's going to work and just did that again. So I think everybody's good with that. So there's a recommendation. Do I have a mover and a seconder to the recommendation? Yes, Councillor Morris is moving that, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kellenberg. Further discussion of any? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Let's go to 13D if we can. And this is Economic Development and Promotions Quarterly Update. Did anybody have any questions on the quarterly update at all? Yes, Councillor Morris.
What have we okayed and budgeted for? It says on the report, production underway. What have we actually budgeted and okayed? Want refreshment, please.
So who would like to take that? Is that going to be you, Stephanie, or is that going to be Amanda, or is that going to be Trevor? Okay, so it comes down to the two at the end of the table. Are you clear on the question from Councillor Morris?
I don't believe we are.
Councillor Morris, maybe if you could clarify once again.
I thought I read it here about, wait, I get the right spot here. About something was signing, oh, here we are. Production of the wayfinding signing is underway. The manufacturer has advised they anticipate being ready to install signs mid-February. Stage 2 will be 2024 budget. I'm not too sure what we okayed and what we didn't, or what we've approved.
Oh, that's right. As of this time, nothing's been approved. There's been 75,000 for budgeted for next year for council consideration.
Then why have we got production underway?
Phase 1.
We did approve signs for already that
Yeah, that's
we've approved and they're under production
Yeah, those
and on the way.
ones.
Okay.
that are under production at this time, phase one. They're tied into the red fund, yes.
Okay, is everybody clear on that then? Very good. So the first part of that is that Warwick Township Council receive and file the report, a quarterly update, Economic Development Communications Officer, but there is another part that they're looking for council direction on funding for the Blue Coast doctor recruitment piece, right, Amanda? So I think we could entertain this first part. I think what I'm going to do is break it down to two. So the first motion would be to receive and file the report. So Councillor Morris is making that motion, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor of that? And then they're looking for some direction on the funding of the Blue Coast doctor recruitment. Now, that will be coming to budget. That will be dealt with, I believe, on the 25th. Are you looking for something sooner than that? And I'll look to maybe Trevor to answer that question.
Right now, we have nothing budgeted for it because we have no direction whether or not council wants to even go down this pathway. If they wish to go down this pathway, I can come with a number. Roughly, it's going to be 25,500 that we'd have to add into the budget in operations to support this program. And we're just looking to see if there's any appetite ahead of time so we can build it in and make the change.
So I'm clear on that. And actually, I had that discussion with the CAO this morning. So there is no money in the current budget that was handed out back in December for this. You're just wanting some direction. Council could make a motion to refer this to the 2024 budget process. If they wanted to, they don't have to do anything if they don't want to. You're just looking for some direction to know whether you need to put those dollars in for council's consideration. Okay, that's
Exactly.
clear. What's council's wishes on this particular item? Is it something you want to have in the budget for discussion? We're not approving it, obviously. Or is it something you just are happy to sit back and just let it sit? I guess I'm asking for a little direction, same as staff here from the chair. Anybody? If nobody has anything to offer or any suggestions, we will just let it sit, will be my thinking on it. So not seeing anybody wanting to refer it to budget or anything? No? Okay. So I guess direction is that at this particular time, council is not providing any direction on this at all. We'll let it sit. And if it comes up later on in the future, council can address the issue at that time. Fair? Very good. Thank you. Okay, let's go to, oh, yes, Councillor Westgate.
Todd, can I take us back to corporate projects and priorities?
Yes.
I missed this. This is B 13B. We have in there in red that getting land for the fire hall and moving the fire hall is a high priority. I thought that was not a high priority for council right now.
Yeah, and that was my understanding as well, Councillor, that this council has never ever stated that that's a priority for them. I wonder if that was just something that was missed, or perhaps I'll let Amanda speak to that.
Thanks, Councillor Westgate. So that item was carried over from, you're right, a previous term of council. The priority rankings don't have that much impact on the project. All projects are considered important. We just try to use it for internal type reasons. But I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, that it is highlighted in red as this needs council direction. So certainly no work, no effort is going into that until it comes back to council and additional discussion is had. And to my mind, I've tied that project in with our future review of the fire master plan, which council has also asked for some additional information to come back with. So overall kind of fire operations, and we're working with the chiefs to get that to you and hope to have it at your next meeting.
Yes, Councillor Westgate.
I just wanted to make sure because we are putting money into the fire hall now. And I do not believe at any time a council said that that was the thing that we wanted to do. That was in the fire master plan and it come through that way, but I don't think that I was on a council that approved that.
Thanks, Councillor Westgate. It was in fact included as an action in the service delivery review plan that the previous term of council did approve and was included in the implementation plan, which is how it carried over into our corporate annual priorities. But certainly no final decisions were ever made on that as a project, which is why it's just flagged for either closing or opening this year further, and more information will be provided to council.
But in that whole plan, we were talking about moving the Public Works building and everything, and I thought that was pretty well washed at the time when we spend more money out there and spend more money at the fire hall.
So there was a discussion on that, but the plan did have an action to move the current Watford station to a new location. I am happy to circulate that plan when we bring back the fire master plan report. So council can review all of the recommendations related to fire in one item, and we can discuss and take direction on what the steps will be. But you're right, the model you're referring to with the Public Works and Fire garage was not pursued, but movement of the station was recommended in that report and was approved as a future action for consideration.
So just to be very clear, this council has not endorsed such a plan, period. And I've not heard anybody on council say they're in favor of doing such a thing. As Councillor Westgate says, we're putting money into the other fire hall now. So that was left over from a previous council. And at this point in time, we have kind of gone through the fire master plan. There's a few little things to come back, and we're waiting on those few little things, but this council has never endorsed, just to be very clear, so the public knows, building a new fire hall at this particular time. So just to be very clear on that. Thank you. I'm going to take us back in the agenda if I can to number 10. We do have Clinton Harper with us today from Laws. Clinton, come on up. Do you want Clinton up there? Clinton's, come on up. And Clinton is here today from the Lambton Area Water Supply System. And there's a request for municipal support for the West Lambton Pumping Station, and he's going to do a presentation for us. Just to remind everybody, there is a staff report in our agenda a little further up that actually deals with this as well. So I'm going to welcome you, Clinton, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you to make your presentation. And if anybody has any questions, I'll ask you at the end of your presentation. Okay, so Clinton, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Case. Hello, Mr. Council for Township of Warwick. My name is Clinton Harper. I'm the General Manager for the Lambton Area Water Supply System. I'm here to talk to you today about the Laws request for municipal support in the area of debt financing related to a specific capital project that Laws wishes to undertake over the next 2 years, beginning in 2024. I believe you guys all have a presentation and a letter from Laws on this. So be advised that there has already been some discussion among some of the other members on that letter to date. So I just will update the group on that. It wasn't included in the letter originally. So just give you a little bit of background. So in 2003, Laws was created by the Minister of the Environment through a transfer order issued under the Municipal Water and Sewage Systems Transfer Act. So the Transfer Act transferred ownership of the assets that make up Laws from the province to the benefiting municipalities as an uninvited share, and the Joint Board of Management was established for system governance. So on this board sits one representative from each of the 6 benefiting municipal members in Lambton County. And in 2012, Laws entered into a 20-year agreement with Aqua for the administration, operation, and maintenance of Laws. So just some physical characteristics of the system. It would be in slide 3. So there is one direct filtration water treatment plant and reservoirs located at the mouth of St. Clair River. We've got one booster station designed to lift potable water into multiple pressure zones in East Lambton, one large capacity pumping station reservoir and tower in South Sarnia, stem pipes in the towns of Port Lambton, Forest, and Watford. And all of these facilities are connected by approximately 250 kilometers of transmission and distribution pipeline. The system is operated primarily from the water treatment plant site and operated in 3 distinct pressure zones that are illustrated. So slide 4, the capital project under discussion today is located at the West Lambton Pumping Station. So the West Lambton Pumping Station is a major Laws facility that's fully integrated into Laws' overall system operation from an energy conservation and efficiency standpoint. The site also provides a significant amount of necessary system resiliency. In addition to a fully integrated operational mode, it's possible to run the West London Pumping Station in a way that allows for Laws to bring its water treatment plant offline for short periods of time. So the importance of this ability cannot be overstated from both a planned maintenance and emergency preparedness standpoint. Next slide. So based on the condition assessment that was completed in 2019, it's time for Laws to undertake a recoding of both the interior and exterior reservoir surfaces. This is for both the north and south reservoirs. Separate from the reservoir recoding and this discussion really, Laws is also undertaking a number of pumping station upgrades at the site designed to either ensure we continue to meet current level of service or designed to provide for enhancement targets established by the 2020 master plan. So in April 2023, SEMA Plus was hired to provide engineering services for an overall Laws project designed to capture all aspects of this work. So slide 6. A preliminary cost estimate for the overall Laws project at the West London Pumping Station is presented here. So items 1 through 3 are pumping station focused and not the subject of today's discussion, as we are still in the preliminary design stages for this component. On the other hand, a tender to complete item 4 closes this Wednesday. In preparation for a March 2024 start, the South Reservoir at the West London is currently isolated and drained. The construction estimate for one tank is just under $7 million. So Laws is financially prepared to enter into a construction contract for this amount. However, to ensure we receive the best pricing, our engineering consultant is recommending that Laws award both tanks together as one overall multi-year project. And this recommendation has ultimately led to me being here today. So the construction estimate for both tanks is 13.68 million, as you can see there. In order for Laws to enter into multi-year project for the indicated amount, it will need to receive municipal support from its members to secure debt. Slide 7. So this table provides a summary of what was spent and what is expected based on the latest cost estimates. In order to execute a multi-year project in the amount of 16.416 million, Laws will need to have in place 5.166 million in debt financing by the fourth quarter of 2024. So note that a 20% contingency amount has been added to the 13.68 million indicated on the previous slide under the construction cost estimate. So slide 8, what does this mean? So due to Laws' organizational structure, Laws cannot hold debt independently. Instead, the entirety of the 5.166 million will need to be guaranteed by its members on Laws' behalf. The Township of Warwick uses 2.21% of Laws' overall system capacity and therefore contributes as much to the Laws' total budget. Therefore, the Township of Warwick is being asked to guarantee up to 114,000 or 2.21% of 5.166 million to ensure Laws can initiate this work as a multi-year contract. Next slide. So slide 5. So the request that was sent to all municipal members was as follows. So Laws requires municipal support as a guarantor in order for Laws to secure debt financing needed in 2024 to undertake the rehabilitation of Laws' 90 megaliter reservoir located at the West London Pumping Station. So Laws requests confirmation from each municipal member that each municipal member will provide Laws with a letter of support upon receipt of a draft debt agreement up to the amount being indicated and for execution in the fourth quarter of 2024. So the wording of this request is specific to Laws approaching a third-party financial institution with a request to borrow. Since the letter went out, there have already been a number of discussions and directions given by other members. Interestingly, some have decided that they prefer to fund this work directly from their reserves. How this will look is still being developed, but basically the members prefer to fulfill the role of the lender by providing their portion directly to Laws. At this point, Laws is focused at securing member support for the multi-year project. How it looks, whether directly funded by members or paid back, how it looks, whether directly funded by members and paid back over time or secured funding through third-party financial institution can be sorted out between now and when the funding is needed by the end of this year. So again, thank you for your time, and that kind of sums up my letter. I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you today.
All right, well, thank you very much, Clint, for coming today and explaining that. So again, also for giving us some feedback on some of the other meetings you've attended, because I do sit and represent the municipality at that board. And of course, did not know that some of this other information has come back to us from some of the other municipalities. Our portion of this is very small compared to the others that are in the millions of dollars. So again, I guess what you're looking for from us, and we're going to deal with this in a report that's coming up here on the backside of this agenda here, probably 5 minutes after we're done here, is just, do we have any questions? Do we have any comments? Do we have any concerns? Does anybody have any questions? Councilor Morris?
Brook Alvingston, do they not receive their water from Laws? They don't? Okay, thank you.
To clarify, Councillor, they are not an owner of the system. They are what I would call a customer of the system. So they pay a rate that's much more than what the members do. So they're a customer, a preferred customer, whatever you want to term it to be. So no, they're not part of this. They have never bought into the system.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, Clinton, you must have done a pretty good job. Nobody's asking. So again, I guess for clarity, and we'll be dealing with this at our next board meeting, I'm sure, at the end of the month. So some have decided to just, finance us out of the reserves instead of going to a bank. I guess we'll know the entire wishes of the board and all the municipalities at our next meeting. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. So I have one more meeting with the village appointed member tomorrow, and we'll have all the information back by then.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. Okay, council, I'm going to take us back to 13E on the agenda. And then we're going to go into the 13F. And Clinton, you might want to stick around just in case there's a question or two. We won't hold you very long because we're going to do 13E and then we're going to get into 13F, which is the part when it comes to both the debt financing for municipalities when it comes to laws. So 13E is pre-consultation development deposit for subdivision applications. So there's a report that talks about that fee of $10,000 when it comes to subdivision applications. Pre-consultation development deposit is what it's termed to be. Anybody have any questions, comments on that particular report? Councillor Westgate.
I guess I'd like to know how many other communities are doing this. It seems to me asking business people or developers for money before they even submit anything is getting ahead of ourselves. I'm just wondering if we really need to do it.
Very good. Who would like to take this? Stephanie?
Thanks, Councillor Westgate. So our planning team informed us that the town of Petrolia currently has a development advance deposit. And basically what it does is collect fees for engineering reviews, legal registration costs, that sort of thing before an application is submitted. And this is just to avoid a situation where a municipality may have to incur these costs before a developer actually submits their application.
Follow up, Councillor Westgate.
Yeah, I guess I understand what it's for, but if I'm a developer coming into a town and before I even submit anything, they tell me I have to put so many thousand down just to have our people look at something that's not even put out to us yet.
So I guess maybe if I could, I think it's more of an application fee, the way it was explained to me. And it's refundable, which is very important to know. It is being done at a lot of municipalities. We don't currently do it. You're correct, Councillor Westgate. And my question was very similar to what your question here was this morning in my meeting with the CAO before we sat down for council today. So it is being done in other municipalities. Does anybody, Trevor, did you want to speak to this at all?
I just want to reiterate what Stephanie said. We're seeing more esoteric applications coming in whereby we have to bring in our engineers or development experts in planning to sit down. Right now, we have no recourse to recover those fees. And this would make sure that we're coming with developers that have intentions that are fully thought out rather than coming 2 or 3 times and we being on the hook to eat that 10 at times. It might be even more than that, thousands of dollars. If they don't use it and they come in, it's a simple application and they submit their development application, then we go to the standard development application process, and this would not be used and refunded fully.
Any other questions on this particular? Yes, Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
So if somebody were to come in and they get the 10,000 and we did do some things, like let's say it's worth $3,000 or $4,000, but then nothing proceeds. do they get the full 10,000 back or just the 6,000 that they did not use?
They will get back the 6,000.
So I guess there'd have to be a cataloging of sorts of what had been done. And before that bill was issued, right, to the developer. So there'd have to be a very matter of fact process outlined to the developer when they first came in for that initial meeting on giving us that $10,000 deposit. Again, this is just something that's been put on the agenda. It's up to council where they want to move forward. They don't have to move forward today if they don't want to. It's totally a choice of council, and it's something you can ask for more information on if you want to. Councillor Morris.
Yeah, Trevor or Stephanie, what do we refer as a developer? Like, how big do they have to be? Can it be somebody that's gonna do like Home Hardware did and build on that lot, or is this something that's a lot bigger? Like, I would hate to have to see them have to put up with $10,000 before we even talk to them.
Yes, Counselor Morris, this would only apply to plans of subdivision.
Oh.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, so, excuse me, in the past, can we get a number on how many applications we've rejected and how much this has possibly cost us through rejections without somebody moving forward? I'd like to know, like, if this is that common that we need to be putting money up for it. I don't want to be scaring away potential developers putting in applications, but again, we also don't need to be eating these costs either, so I'd like to know what the numbers are.
We'll work and pull those numbers. We'll work and get those numbers.
Okay, Councillor Westgate.
Yeah, I think the township should cover a meeting to tell people what they need to do and not have anything paid for that. If they want extra information, then I don't mind going to that we have to go to the engineers for. But our meetings, we have our engineers there anyway. So anything that's covered under that meeting should be enough for them to make the application. I guess anything after that meeting, if they want more information, then we could ask them to pay for that. But as long as the initial meeting is covered and the initial information is covered, I think I'm fine with it.
So maybe I can make a suggestion. Councillor Manning's brought up a couple good points, looking for some stats, some numbers. Would it be okay maybe if we gave direction to staff today to put those numbers together and bring it back to our next regular council meeting? I'm sure that gives you enough time. If not, let me know and we can look at this again. So I'm looking for some nodding heads. Does everybody agree with that? Councillor Manning's asked for information. We could do it. Some good points have been made. So are we happy to do that at our next regular council meeting? Very good. Yes, Amanda, please.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We'll get that done through Stephanie and Trevor. I do have just some background comments that for council to think about while that information is being gathered. So just to clarify to your point, Councillor Westgate, this new fee would not change the customer service at the outset of a developer process for a subdivision. We would absolutely still have preliminary meetings with them, support them, provide the information they're looking for that we have on file, connect them with our engineers. So just so council's aware when they're thinking about this fee after the meeting. In addition, we will provide the stats Councillor Manning requested, but for your information, in our past applications, what we're seeing is a gap between the time of, the initial inquiry submission and then the time it takes to go through submitting the formal application. And even after our current formal application doesn't provide a mechanism to submit any deposit. So unlike our site plan deposit, which we've talked about, that deposit structure in the past, the subdivision application provides at current no deposit structure. So we have to wait until we get to the plan of subdivision agreement of subdivision process, which is after they've had draft plan approval, after public meetings, after servicing arrangements have been finalized. And then through the subdivision agreement, there's a mechanism for us to recover costs. And that gap in time, depending on the developer, can be long and can create a lot of municipal fees In one case, the municipality is holding almost $35,000 in fees that we don't have an agreement to recoup from a developer. However, the developer is aware of them. We will arrange, like we have an arrangement in place. But the intent behind the fee is to make the developer aware that there are costs associated with some of the engineering reviews that are required. And the $10,000 deposit was proposed because it is in place elsewhere and has been used successfully, but also a deposit structure to help offset costs. And maybe the time of collection that's, proposed in this is at the pre-consultation stage, but maybe it's at the application phase, almost like a site plan application, just to help offset those costs. So while we will provide all the information requested, I just wanted to provide that for information before we move on from this discussion today. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much, Amanda. Any further questions before we move on? So we'll look forward to the information coming back based on some of the questions that have been asked today. Very good, thank you. I'm going to go to 13F, and that's the laws, debt financing for municipalities that Clinton just presented to us. And there's a recommendation here, and our recommendation actually uses the same kind of analogy as using approximately funded from our reserves of $114,000. So that's exactly what we're talking about doing. And the recommendation here is funding this through our reserve fund. How does council wish to deal with this piece of business, this recommendation, or is there any further questions? Councillor Morris.
Yeah, Trevor, how much have we got in the water reserves and how much have we already used that reserves for other expenses? Like how much we got left?
As of the end of 2022 was 2.9 million.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? So there is a recommendation before us for the $114,000 to fund it through reserve. Councillor Morris, are you making that motion? Motion made by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Manning. Any further discussion on this piece of business? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Clinton. Appreciate you staying. Let's go to 13G if we can, council, and that's the 2024 gravel tender. And there is a recommendation before council on that, one that did come in under budget, I am told, by our public works manager. Any questions first off on this particular piece of business? Councillor Westgate.
Did we have the tender out before and I missed it? But I just wonder percentage fracture or what pit it's coming from for the gravel.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Westgate. Yep, so the fracture is included in the specifications. So it's the same as 60% because you can no longer get the 70. So I brought a report last year that explained, so what was put on the road last year was 60 and this year would be 60 as the 70 is, they're not producing it. So that's what you'll see in the specifications.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that you can't get the fracture anymore that we used to. We were into the 80 percentile at one time way back, and now 60 is the best that's out there, which is kind of sad at the end of the day. Exactly, it was at the end of the day, but the 70 was always a nice ask, and it was always nice to receive. Does anybody else have any questions on the gravel tender? So there is a recommendation, and the recommendation reads that Warwick Township Council approves the quote as supplied by Mackenzie Henderson Limited at $18.77 per ton to supply and deliver a minimum of 24,000 tons of maintenance gravel to the Township of Warwick on paved roads. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor Manning. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Then we've got 13H. This is the calcium tender. And that reads, first off, does anybody have any questions on the calcium tender? So that recommendation reads that Warwick Township Council approves the quote as supplied by Pollard Highway Products at 0.1175 per liter to supply application of 800,000 liters of 18% liquid calcium to the Township of Warwick on paved roads. How does council wish to deal with the recommendation? That's being moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kallenberg. Any further discussion of any? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Council, is there any new business that you would like to bring up today or notice of motions? Seeing none. So that concludes for everybody that's viewing through YouTube. That concludes the open session of our meeting. We'll be going in camera and that'll be the end of the public consultation or public portion of our meeting today. So thank you very much for viewing. Could I have a motion to move into camera pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons? Number 2, 3, and 4. Moved by Councillor Manning, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.